All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Wednesday, February 28th, 2024. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Anyways, let's get into it today. So markets here, really big chop fest. Obviously, the big news of the day is Bitcoin, and we'll definitely talk about that. We can talk a little bit about it now, actually, and we'll get to it at the end as usual, but pretty big move here, right? So we had the big 3-bar surge. I thought we might even pull back like tomorrow just because we had 1, 2, 3 like that. But then middle of the day just kind of went parabolic here, and a little bit of a volume climax, hitting 64 down to 57 and change in about 10-15 minutes time. And now it's just kind of stabilizing here. Right now, this is probably put in some type of a short-term high. But this is still a pretty powerful move here, and we're so close to all-time highs at this point. I'd be a little surprised if we don't make new ones. So we already retraced over 75% of this move. Well over 75%, really not that far off. I mean, if anything, you'd almost call that like a pseudo double top hit. If we got any closer, I would have, call that like a double top almost. But it did pull back pretty sharply. I see a lot of victory laps being taken, a lot of bears celebrating. I mean, first of all, it's up still 10,000 points in the last 3 days. So not really that much to celebrate about. But if you look at like the alts and everything, ETH, that did get up to, got close to that 36 handle. But look, Doge quietly up 14%. It is off the highs. But, like Polkadot, like this pattern's not broken. Some of the ones I'm in, Solana's still green on the day, just testing that trend line there. Cardano, flat to lower, Matic down a little bit here, but just backing off of this this trend line here, and it's still holding trend. So I don't really see any problems here. And additionally, if we look at, obviously there was a Coinbase outage. Looking at Coinbase, it's still green, right? Dip buyers have stepped in. Heck, MSTR didn't even make a new low of the day, and it almost went back up and took out the highs there. So again, seeing from the miners, seeing from the alts, it's not like a bloodbath. Now, if they're all like beat red and waterfalling, then I would say, okay, this could be something more. But still seeing some money flow here, and dip buyers are willing to step in. So we're not gonna go from 50,000 to 64 in 3 days and not get volatility. We're not gonna go from 38 to 64 in a month and not get volatility. So I'm not thinking this is anything more than that right now. It is overbought, it is extended, it does need to pull back though. So that's kind of what I'm looking for there. But anyways, for the spiders here, a lot of whipsaw. There's a lot of market maker games going on today. We should close between 50.60 and 50.70 unless something changes. Actually, it might be a little closer to 50.70. But this is all whipsaw. So they've been playing around with these strikes all day long. 50-60, that's been a big level of interest. And I think somebody knew that Mitch McConnell was going to step down because there was something weird going on in the options market. There was some, gamma at 50-60 that should have kind of diminished when we started to rally up 20 points off of that level, and it didn't. And then magically we kind of culled back into that level right as Mitch McConnell's stepping down. Again, just a lot of game playing. It's just noise here. We have PCE tomorrow, so that will be an inflation data point. What's going to happen? I don't know. Nobody really ever knows. We can speculate. Crude has kind of inched up a little bit, or it did inch up a little bit in the month of January. But by the end of the month, we had that little dump. So, I would say it's inched up a little bit. I'm more worried about next month because this pattern here on crude is really good, and I don't think the shorts did a good job of defending it today. This is all they got before the dip was bought, and that was off of the inventory number here. You got a doji. This can just shoot right up tomorrow if it wants to. I think that's ready to go. We'll see. But in any case, bottom line is still, bulls in control here. You close below this green bar, that would be a little bit of a concern. But really, this 49.46 area is kind of my big level here. That would give you a daily chart lower low. And, obviously 49.20, especially if we closed the week below that, or even really a day, honestly, that would certainly signal a top is in place. But right now, market's okay. You're still inside of this green bar. This wedge is tightening. So keep that in mind. But, we could still go up. There's really nothing saying we can't. So anyway, triple Qs here down 2.25. Nothing terrible. Still inside of that green. Again, still a little bit weaker, though. We talked about momentum declining. I like to use the NQ a little bit more. You're actually kind of below that trend line now. Again, distance between the hits, right? And now we're not even above it. So yes, we've violated the trend line a few times, but the fact of the matter is that we're no longer going up at this angle. So tech seems to be kind of weakening out. I mean, if you look at stocks like SMCI, that's been under pressure last couple of days. ARM, possible lower high there. NVIDIA's pulled back. NVIDIA's still up a lot, but seeing kind of rotation intraday, like looking at the Russell, this was the first thing to get the dip bought this morning. And on the weekly, it's that pattern's okay. It's still fine. We talked about XBI, ARC. They're seeing some money flow, so maybe finally some of these high flyers coming in. Now, again, if the high flyers come in, by the way, speaking of, I do not like the chart of Google at all. I think Apple is also very vulnerable. This hit 180 way too many times with lower highs. So again, if these high flyers and these Mag 7s start to come in, the market will come down, even if other sectors are, if IWM's catching a bid or has a underlying bid or there's rotation, Mag 7 still outweigh everything, right? Because that's how it was on the way up. Market was just going up every day because NVIDIA and Apple were green, while everything else was red. However, what that lets us know is that at some point we'd look for higher lows on the weekly. Unless the Russell and the XBI start to sell off and big tech sells off and they all sell off with parity with one another and nobody's like leading to the downside rather, then that could mean something more meaningful, but hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, Qs here, again, we talked about that. So a little diminishing trend line there. IWM still holding up. 205 is the, where's my chart? There we go. 205 is still the level. Back below 200 would be a sign of weakness here in the short term, but we still got that upsloping trend line with those higher lows there. Dow had a pretty good gap down today, but actually basically back to flat, so still holding trend. That could still get to 395 right now. Semiconductors on the weaker side. Again, another example here of tech being weak. Maybe a little island, so just be careful of that. But it's holding up right now, and it's coming off the lows. IGV, that's still been very strong here at down 50 cents, but nothing terrible. I made a mistake. Snowflake reports today after the bell with Salesforce. So that will move the IGV. Salesforce is right up into a double top as well. So we'll see if that comes into play into the after hours. Snowflake, that's got a ways to go. That's nowhere near all-time highs right now. But at face value, this is actually a pretty good chart on the weekly. Little inside bar action. Pivot, you're consolidating beneath that pivot. But again, earnings is a wild card, so I don't play with that. Dow Transport's down. That actually had a good recovery earlier, and then it came back in pretty sharply. Watch this little, maybe a head and shoulder there. Has not triggered yet, though. But also keep in mind, daily head and shoulders is surpassed in magnitude by a weekly bullish inside bar, which is what you have. So weekly pattern more dominant. Interest rates, really nothing going on. I mean, the 2-year got a little bit of a bid. The note, that is, the yield came back in, but really nothing here to make out of this. They're just pulling back off of that pivot. 5-year, that pattern looks really tight. And so does the 10s. 30 years did back off a little bit more. But again, we have PCE tomorrow. If that number comes in hot, bonds are going to break out. Yields are going to break out. So everything's going to come into that tomorrow. And the big question is, if yields break out, do the markets finally give a shit? That's really, what it's going to come down to. But pattern-wise, yields are still very good here. All right. What do we got next? XHB holding up, down 18 cents. Again, that's overbought on the weekly, but can still go higher. VNQ actually had a nice day today. I like the gap down and then the strong close, the strong dip by there. That pattern on the daily is actually pretty solid. And that weekly, we've been talking about this. It's going to just stay firm and continue to firm up. I think VNQ is in decent shape. XLF up 14 cents. JPM just continues to be a powerhouse here. That's still holding up really well. This is going to have to come down for XLF to correct at this point. KRE still weaker. You guys know I don't like that one. And the KBE, a little bit kind of split, but the weekly chart is still okay. Broker dealers new all-time highs there again. Maybe a little bit of a hanging man, but again, I'm not too worried about that. Oil we talked about all over the map, but this is your resistance. We break through that. We're going to 81.50 and then mid 80s. And then I know it's a long way away, but 91. So we'll see if they allow that to happen. But oil's holding up really well. XLE backed off today. Pattern wise is fine on the daily. Same thing with XOP and OIH. They're both fine. No changes there. CCJ backing off a little bit. So it was unable to reclaim 42 yesterday. So we're going to need, to make a little micro higher low here. And if we can do that, we can go back to 45. URNM, again, we back tested 50 here and a little pullback. Next level is 52 to 52.50. Nat gas did have a outside move. I'm going to look at the J contract because I don't like that contract gap. But you can see we did make a higher low and a higher high. So that's the first time since here. So I think there's a low in place. I'm expecting maybe 210. And then you got like 225, 230 after that. After that, I think it can go even higher. If you look at the last rally here, we hit a 75% fib. I know there's contract stuff in the way that screw it up, but it's just 618, 75% retrace. We do that again here. We could go to 250, 270, and that would actually fill that contract gap. So we'll see. But I do think that now, we've seen that, I've been saying this over and over, like it needs to show me something. And we had the big outside move there, and now you have a higher low and a higher high. Now it's showing me something. Now we have a reason to believe that shorts are going to start covering. So I think nat gas can get up to 210, 225 here, and then maybe higher. Dollar index pulling back off of, but still a green day though. Little bid early on and then came back in. Another chart that I think we should all keep an eye on too is the dollar yen is really close to that high. And that's kind of the breaking point. This is a big, fat ascending triangle that could have serious implications. Market doesn't care now, but I think above 152 it will. Gold, nothing burger today. That'll move tomorrow with PCE. Really tight range. That pattern's fine right now on really all time frames. Silver, I think, is a little bit on the weaker side. I think that's more vulnerable down to 22. This has been tested a bunch of times, so just be aware of that. It can break now. Platinum and palladium a little bit on the softer side here, but again, nothing really terrible to write home about there. And then copper here backing off as well. Again, nothing to do with that. We already talked about Bitcoin, but again, we'll just take a look here really quick. So just hovering right around 60. This should pull back here. At least pause. It's had a really big run, but honestly, I'm not seeing like a huge reversal yet. Maybe we can get that tomorrow, but I just think the way that like alts are behaving, like again, look at Cardano. That's still not like, again, you got to zoom out here. That's not a bearish pattern. That's not a bearish pattern. That's not a bearish pattern. Look at Polkadot. That's not a bearish pattern. Doge trying to break out here too. ETH, that's overbought. We know that because of the hype. But again, I'm just not really seeing like anything that's super bearish. It's funny to even say anything bearish when it's up as much. But in any case, we'll see what we get tomorrow. But I do expect some backing and filling here at the very least. But it's had a crazy run. There's been a lot of volatility. So anyway, again, market's just going to sit tight here. So again, I'm going to look for like maybe a 5-point range into the close, 50, 60, 50, 70. That's kind of where I'm expecting us to sit. Again, PCE tomorrow. we'll see what we get. Bottom line, you can do some damage here, I guess, below 50.38, but really the big level is making that lower low. That confirms to me that bears are finally starting to make a move. But just keep in mind, a lot of people are expecting a pullback, and that's why we keep going higher. So till that towel gets thrown in, don't be surprised if we have another gap and go, as well. So anyways, guys, going to wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on CarnivoreTrades.com. We'll talk to you guys all tomorrow.